Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Daily Grace with Pastor James. So glad that you have joined me today. We started a new series last week called the series of Faith series. And last week we looked at the part 1. Today we're going to look at part 2, which is the trigger for a miracle, because we did say that faith actually promotes miracle. And then, so what are the triggers? Last week, let's just quickly run through what we did last week. Say what happens when we have faith. We did define faith as looking at things from God's perspective. And we did say that faith is not desire, faith is not make-believe, faith is not your feeling, and faith is not bargaining with God. So what happens then? We also did mention that you can either see things from the eyes of faith or from the eyes of fear. And then depending on how you're looking at it, it also has its own implication. When you look at things from the eyes of fear, what happens is that you then exaggerate the difficulties. And of course, you also underestimate your ability to do things. And so you get discouraged. You start complaining about everything around you, about the world around you, and eventually you give up and you blame God. But then, if you look at things from the eyes of faith, if you see things from the eyes of faith, what happens is that it shrinks the problem, because you know that your God is bigger than whatever problem you're going through. So seeing it from the eyes of faith simply means that it's going to make your problem or your challenge smaller than you would have seen it. And then it also opens the door for a miracle, and that is what it's triggering of what we're doing today. It opens up for a miracle. So what are those triggers? Now let us just quickly look at the triggers for a miracle. Why do we actually need faith? Hebrews 11:6 says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. Romans 14:23 says, anything that is not done in faith is a sin. And in Matthew 9:29, it says, according to your faith will it be done to you. In other words, you determine how the miracle will come. How big your miracle would come depends on your faith. This is the reason why this series is so important. This is the reason why you really need to go through all the series. So triggers for a miracle. How faith in Jesus Christ can turn a little into a lot. We have a wonderful story in the Bible. We all know, we've heard about this story before. It's the story where Jesus fed 5,000 people. Actually, we keep saying Jesus fed 5,000 people. No, it's more than 5,000 people. If you go and look at the version for Matthew, it says that it fed 5,000 men, aside from women and children. Okay, so Jesus actually fed a lot of people. And that particular story, it gives us the keys to miracle. It gives us the principles, and it is so good that we know this principle of how God can turn a little into a lot, can turn just the little thing that you give out to a lot. Because sometimes we feel our talent is not enough. Go to God, it will turn it into a lot. Our energy, we are weak, we don't have enough. Go to God and it will turn it into a lot. The story that we are going to use to buttress the principles that we are talking about is found in the first 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But let's just zero in to the version of Mark, to the story of Mark. Mark 6, 34 to 44. I wouldn't be able to read that, but you can read it on your own when you are free. Now, when you look at that, you see that Jesus was actually preaching. He was preaching and teaching people that came to see them. And then after teaching, and it was so late, the disciples came and said, let these people go. Send them away because it's getting late. And we're in a desert. There's no way we can get something to feed them. Let them go and look for food to eat themselves. And Jesus said, you feed them. That destabilized the disciples. What? How can we feed 5,000 people? Where are we going to get the resource? And they did say that it would take more than half a year's wages to just buy bread to feed these people. And Jesus is saying they should feed them. They said it is physically impossible. It is financially impossible. We cannot do it. So, what are the keys that Jesus Christ is trying to buttress for us here? Number one, for you to have a miracle, you must admit that you have an unsolvable problem. If your problem is solvable, you don't need a miracle. If you are on the fat side and you want to lose weight, you don't need a miracle. Just get at it. Go to the gym. Start walking. Start doing things to calm out even your meal. You need to cut down on junk meals. You don't need miracle for that. You are struggling financially. You don't need miracle for that. You just need a financial plan. Until you have a problem that is completely unsolvable by any human being, that is when you need a miracle. So that is the first key, that you must have a problem that is unsolvable. When you look at that story, the disciples knew all along that there is a problem, but they procrastinated. They delayed, they pretended as if there is no problem, which is what majority of us will do. And then eventually they were blaming, but they were passing the blame. And so they were worried about the whole thing. So the first principle that we have looked at is you must admit that your problem is unsolvable. And then the second thing that you need to do is give God the little that you have. The little boy gave out all he had. And that little that he gave, God recognized that little. God recognized his efforts. But why did Jesus do this? Because we all know that Jesus can perform the miracle without those breads. So why did he ask for what they have? Because he wanted to teach us a principle. Always remember that God starts with what you have. If you are putting down zero, God is going to bless zero and you are going to get nothing. So God starts with what you have. Don't forget that. When we read the version of John 6:6, it says that, but this he said to test them. So Jesus asked them to go and feed them just to test them. It's not that he doesn't know what he needed to do. And the third thing is put it all in the hands of Jesus. Put it all in the hands of Jesus. God will use whatever you give to him. Whatever you give to him, that is what he's going to use. This small boy gave willingly. This small boy gave cheerfully, and he gave immediately. He did not procrastinate. And God used that not only to bless the 5,000 plus people, but also to bless the boy. And the fourth thing is you expect God to multiply whatever you have given. Expect God to multiply whatever you have given. And that is a very, very key principle, that whatever I give out, I will always get back more. And that is the principle of God. Whatever you give out, you will get back more. Thank you so much for listening to me in this episode of the Triggers for Miracle, and I hope it's blessed you. If it has, Please endeavor to share this to others so that they can also be blessed. My name is Pastor James Egodibie, and I pastor RCCG Solid Rock Parish, Derby, 55 Woods Lane, DE22 3UD. If you need a Bible-believing church, just come and join us. We have wonderful brethren and we'll welcome you with open arms. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode. God bless you.